Hey guys, this is pre-algebra lesson 4.4. So 4.4 is titled Simplifying Fractions. So now in your notes, I want you to write down equivalent fractions. And if I were to say that 3/4 is equivalent to 9/12, okay, you could show that in a fraction model. If I modeled that, okay, there's my fourths. And there's twelfths. If I shade them off, so 3/4 looks like this. You should be putting this in your notes. It looks the same as 9/12. They are equivalent fractions. I'm sure this is a review for you, just like most of chapter 4 has been already, but we just need to review it so that we can move on, and there will be a new concept added in this lesson. So a fraction is in simplest form. Also write this down in your notes. When the numerator and denominator have no common factors. So if I were to say 4/8, you cannot write 4/8. You have to write 1/2. It has to be in simplest form. There's no question. Don't ever ask me if you have to simplify it. You always do. It's like showing your work. You just have to do it. So here are a couple quick problems. Try these problems and then we will go over them. So it says find two fractions equivalent to each fraction. So I want to find an equivalent fraction. So how I do that, what I do, which I think is the easiest, is I multiply the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. So I just double it. So I get 10/30. So that's one equivalent fraction. Now, if you want to, you can simplify it also and get 1/3. Or you could times the top by 3 and the bottom by 3 and get 15/45. You can do whatever works for you. I usually always double and then I simplify if I see it, like that one. So this one I would say, okay, 20/24, just because you don't have to think. It doesn't require you to think to double it because it's so easy. And then maybe like 5/6. This next one, 28/40 or 7/10. It just asks you to write 2. And your 2 might be different than my 2, and that's totally fine because there are hundreds of equivalent fractions. Now, this says write each fraction in simplest form. So, try these 3 problems, and then we will go over them. All right, 6/8. So what I do is I just immediately try to cut it in half. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. I know that 3/4 is simplest form, so then that one I'm done with. So 9/12. I can't cut 9 in half, so then I go to 3. Can I divide it by 3? Well, yep, 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So I have 3/4 again. Now the last one, you can do it, you can't do it in half because of 35. I could do 28 1/2, but that doesn't work. So then I try to find what number they both have in common. So they both have a 7 in common. So if I divided the top by 7 and the bottom by 7, I would get 28 divided by 7 is 4, and 35 divided by 7 is 5. So I would get 4/5. So hopefully this is just a review. Pretty simple. Okay, here's where the new concept comes in. So, here is an example. Write down this example. They have y divided by xy. So they're introducing variables. Okay, so if you have y divided by xy, it says divide the numerator and denominator by the common factor of y. So what that means is since you have one on top and one on bottom, you can cross them off. And then you're left with 1 on top and an x on the bottom. Now the 1 on top is just there because it's the identity property, and you have to have something on the top. Have you ever seen a fraction just look like this with nothing on the top. You can't have empty space. So if I cross off that y, so if I started with this, and I cross off a y and I cross off a y, I can't just leave emptiness on the top. So you always are assumed that there's a 1 there because it's the identity. If y times 1, it would still be y. So then your answer is 1 over x. So these say write in simplest form. So let's try these together. So write down b over ABC. So if I have b over ABC, then I can cancel out, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I can cancel out my b's, and I'm left with 1 over AC. 1 divided by AC. So that's it. Now, here I have 2 6. Now you have to consider the numbers are fractions and the letters are fractions. They're separate things. So the 2 6 can become 1/3. And then I have an m on the top and an m on the bottom, so that cancels out. And then I have my n on the top. So you keep the n on the top and it stays up there. So then I have 1n divided by 3. All right, and then lastly, I have 24 over 8. Well, 24 over 8 is like 3 over 1. Same thing because I just divided them, made them into a more of a simple fraction. Now, I have x squared. So x squared really means x times x, if you remember from exponents. So x times x, I can cross off 1x and 1x, and I'm left with 1x on the top. And then y over y, I cross both of them out, and I'm just left with 3x over 1. Or really, you don't need to have the 1 in the denominator, and you could just have 3x, because if you did 3x divided by 1, it would just be 1. So that is it for your notes.